Hello everyone. Good to see all of you here interested in hedging, learning to how to hedge your portfolio with options. I'll give a bit. I'm Arup Chaudhary, by the way. I head the product team for cash and derivatives at Kotak Securities. So all your features and uh, marketing material that you get regarding cash and derivatives comes either through us or some other teams, but mostly through us. I'll give a brief background about myself, and I'll deep dive right into uh, what options are. This will be a very basic level not a course, but a presentation in terms of just view of the larger audience that will be attending. So want to keep it very simple so that everyone can get something out of this session. If there is enough interest for an advanced session, then we can deep dive into it in another session. But this will mostly be a very basic level thing. Um I'll just start with my background first. I've done my engineering, and straight out of engineering, I moved into trading. I was trading on prop desk since 2007. I've been trading options. I was the head of options trading desk at Motilal Oswal at 25. Since then, I've done my MBA in the US, come back, worked on an options desk again, uh, run a PMS as a fund manager, and then eventually ended up here at Kotak Securities, whereas well started off by looking at derivatives as a product, and now I look at cash and derivatives both. So where I'm coming from is I have a lot of experience in options, and what I want everyone, especially since you are on this call as you're at a beginner stage of learning about options, please do remember that there is a lot of rampant mis-selling of options in the markets, on Twitter, on social media, everywhere. There is no way to get rich quick scheme in options. People who call themselves gurus, masters, and all these epithets are wouldn't need to be charging people for money if they were really successful making money. That's not what the most successful traders do, at least not in the West, and definitely not in India as well. The most successful traders tend to be more silent, more humble. Bit of arrogance, yes, sure, but you will not see them posting daily PNL screenshots. You will not see them, calling themselves, patting themselves off the back about inventing something that has existed in the markets for 15, 20 years. So be wary of these people. Don't jump into tips and trades. None of this content that I will cover today is an investment advice. This is just a guidance from sort of my viewpoint. Please consult your financial advisor before diving into options, and be very mindful that it's a very complicated product, and end of the day you'll only benefit when you learn it uh, through deep diving into it and studying it, not just following someone's tips or trades or other stuff. So let me start by presenting what I have made. Actually, Amit Pandey from my team has actually put this presentation together. So if you like it, you know whom to thank. If you don't, then again, he's your person to blame. I hope you guys can see the screen. So what are derivatives? Obviously, this slide dives into the definition of it. It's basically a contract between two parties where the value of the derivative comes from an underlying asset. The underlying asset can be stock, bond, commodity, currency, or market indices. At at first sight, this whole definition might seem very confusing, but I'll give you an example and where you might start understanding it a little bit more. Most of us on this call, I hope all of us on this call have health insurance, right? And I'll use myself as an example because uh, these examples can get a bit morbid, but that's the easiest way I have learned in my experience to explain to things. So say I want to buy health insurance, right? And I want to buy health insurance. Say I'm I've done all my health studies, I've done all my health checks, right? And I say, give me health insurance for say a 1 CR cover, right? For 1 month, just this month, the next month of December. Now, how do you price the premium on it, right? What premium would do I pay? What is a fair premium? Not a whole lot of people know, right? We don't know what is a fair premium. All we do is compare one health insurance with other health insurance, and derivatives market is pretty much the same, right? So if when within derivatives, obviously, we referring to options here, so I'll stick to options. So when you try to price that premium, you don't know what is a fair premium, right? But there are speculators who come in with a get rich quick scheme that they think envisage this will help them out with. So suppose I buy a cover of one CR for this month of December, and I pay a premium of 1 lakh. Now, for the risk takers, they might feel okay, he's a healthy person with no real bad habits except a lot of junk food, but that for a middle-aged person like me, that shouldn't be a problem for a 1 month. So they'd be happy taking that bet by saying, okay, I'll cover this person for that 1 lakh rupees, and I'll have that 1 lakh rupees is what my profit is. This is what the option seller does. They are the ones who are offering that insurance scheme. Uh, and this gets exceptionally interesting if you think about, instead of month, if it's a 1 week insurance, right? If I were to ask you, give me a one week insurance on my health, maybe some of you would feel it's a lottery ticket. Okay, I'm getting one for maybe 10,000 rupees, an insurance cover of one CR. Whereas the someone else might feel, okay, it's a great opportunity where मेरे को 10,000 rupees almost certainly मिल जाएगा, because nothing is going to happen to Arup on within 1 week, right? If you have ever in your lifetime, which I'm sure all of you have placed a bet, right, with someone, you have entered a derivative contract, right? Now that bet can be in what time will the food arrive that you have ordered, or how much score will Sachin Tendulkar make, or how much at what is the total score that India will make. All of these things are derivatives because there's an underlying asset which is the actual event, right? Which is Sachin batting, India batting, or the food delivery arriving, and then you put a lot of conditions on top of it. Those conditions are basically the specifications that also every derivative contract has, and essentially what you get on exchanges is something that is very standardized so that everyone is on the same page and everyone has a clear understanding of what they're getting into. So these derivative contracts on exchanges have a specified settlement date. This is called the expiry or the maturity. On NSE for equity derivatives, the expiry is every Thursday, last Thursday of the month for stocks, and for indices, it's every Thursday. So these contracts get settled every Thursday, and that's why you can see, right? Like if you have to write insurance premium for me for one week, the chances of me dying hopefully are very less within this next week. So an option seller will be very excited taking that 5,000-10,000 rupees, whereas someone else might be like, okay, I'm okay with betting that 5,000-10,000 rupees because the off chance if something goes wrong, I'll have 1 CR ka payout, right? So this is how you make a market where buyers are coming in for a huge payoff and sellers are coming in for a small payoff, but a higher probability of making that small payoff, right? And this settlement date for this is decided as Thursdays for weekly expiry, and for stocks it's monthly. And obviously the expiries can extend into a lot of years looking forward, but let's not go into that. Same way, there is a pre-decided reference price for this. Basically, wherever the underlying, so for Nifty futures and options, the Nifty 50 price on closing price on the Thursday, on the particular Thursday this expiry is, acts as a reference price of settlement. So say suppose we entered into a contract at, we say that Nifty in 1 week's time, next Thursday is going to be 18,000. Then that becomes our pricing from which the P&L will be calculated, and our reference price is obviously Nifty 50. So if Nifty 50 closing price on next Thursday is 17,500, then whoever bought at 18,000 will lose 500, and whoever sold at 18,000 will make 500. It's as simple as that in terms of futures, but options can get a bit complicated. Also, there is a concept of physical settlement, which is basically if you are in profit or if you are in loss, is cash settled in terms of indices. But in case of shares, there's the concept of in the money, out of the money, where basically if you are in the wrong, you have to give the shares on expiry. So going back again, the advantages I've already explained. There's a lot of leverage in this because, going back again to insurance example, you're paying 10,000 bucks and you're getting a premium of 1 CR to play with as a buyer, or seller is you have high probability or low insurance that you have to pay. And the thing is, because the probability is less, the exchange charges what they call as the span margin, which is what is defined as 99% probability what will happen. So if for 99% probability, say nothing is going to happen to me or whatever, so exchange will not ask the seller of the insurance to pay 1 CR. Instead, the exchange will ask them to, just provide maybe 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, or 5 lakh. And again, spitting out random numbers here, but as long as you get the essence, you should be fine. Options, again, as I dived into a little before, is basically a contract between two people for a predetermined price, which is called the strike price, and a predecided determined date. So the predecided date, again, like we referred to in the previous example, is the expiry. Now, predetermined price is the strike price. So suppose, again, sticking to the insurance example, say we say that, the medical bill for Arup in the next week is going to be less than 10 lakhs. So that 10 lakhs becomes the strike price, and the settlement happens with reference to that 10 lakhs. So even if I have an emergency and the medical bill is below 10 lakhs, say 9 lakhs, then the 10 lakh person who sold at 10 lakhs will still make that money premium that I paid, which was 10,000. Whereas the buyer will not make any premium because it was below. However, if it crosses 10 lakhs, then the buyer will make whatever is the profit or whatever is the amount. So say suppose the bill is 15 lakhs. So the buyer who paid that 10,000 premium will make 15 minus 10, 10 lakh being a strike price, which is 5 lakhs, minus the premium 10,000, which he or she paid to the seller. So think about the strike price as simply a threshold that determines above or below who pays how much. And that threshold works in conjunction with the underlying price. Now, these option contracts, because derivatives were not invented with the aim of being for retail. However, majority of the volumes today are retail. Almost 80% of our volume in the markets is retail. But they were originally created with the intention for being for institutions and sophisticated investors. So the contract sizes were very large, and these contracts are hence sold in lots, as opposed to equity, which is basically you can buy one share, but in futures and options in derivatives, you have to buy a lot. A lot is usually, for indices, it's about 8 to 10 lakh rupees value. So one lot for Nifty is, say, 50, and for Bank Nifty, it's 25. Again, going back to the health insurance example, the buyer pays the premium and the seller receives the premium, but provides margin. Again, like I said, the margin is essentially to cover for a potential loss. So the seller doesn't have to has to provide the entire 1 CR of margin. They just provide, say, maybe 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever is the 99% probability of the loss. Again, going in too deep, there are two kinds of options, calls and put. They're bought and sold as per the view of the buyer or seller. So call is essentially, if you want, is revolves around the right to buy. Put revolves around the right to sell. When I say buy and sell, these are with the reference of the buyer. Always think about the reference as the buyer of the option. So even in health insurance, when we look at the buyer of the option, then everything will start making sense. So a buyer of a call is looking to make money out of increase in price, and then buy the share for that. And a buyer of a put option is looking to sell their stock at a price and whatever is the determined price, but if there is a huge fall in the stock. So puts become very good hedging tools against falls, and calls become a very good speculative tool for an upside move. Again, things are not so simple and easy. Please don't get into speculation. There are a lot of factors. Options are some of. So I'll tell you a good anecdote. Basically, a very common pricing formula in options is the Black-Scholes formula. Black and Scholes won the Nobel Prize for coming up with that formula, and then they lost the entire fund the very next year. And even the Black-Scholes, the variant that Black-Scholes Merton came out with, it has flaws. You will never see an option being traded at the price that you arrive from looking at this formula, because there are so many assumptions that go into making the pricing formula for options that it's really impossible to price an option correctly. And getting into trading options without understanding this is always risky. I, as a product manager, while my motivation is for more and more people to come and trade options, I don't want to do that with the mis-selling of options that happens at a lot of the other places. So please spend time learning about options. Spend time. There's enough free educational data around this that you don't even need to pay all these masters and gurus. Aswath Damodaran, for example, has put his entire NYU course on YouTube. Similarly, a lot of these very, very good traders have put up their entire options courses on YouTube for free, especially from the Western markets, and just go through them, learn from them, and obviously do a lot of theoretical reading before you dive in and try to make the most out of this. So coming back to put options, since we are talking about hedging, put options are the very common resource, probably the best resource for hedging. These were initially designed so that someone can make money out of, when investments go down, or the stock goes down, or an index goes down. These type of instruments may help you make money, and that is why they're a favorite choice of a lot of really big investors who choose to buy puts to hedge their portfolios. And we'll go through one example of this, and let's see if hopefully I can help you guys understand this. Please do not use this example to make a trading decision. This is just for reference to help you understand how to go about it, and hopefully sets you up or piques your interest in this beautiful world of options. But yeah, tread with caution is what I would like to say. So a put option basically gives you the right but not the obligation to sell a stock at a specified price, which is known as strike price, at a specified time, again, which is known as expiry, at the option's expiration. The advantage is obviously that you can buy a put option to magnify your profit. Basically acts as a hedge against a downward movement in your stock or in your portfolio. The most common strategy to hedge your portfolio is to use a protective put, also known as a merit put. Basically, what you do is you hedge your portfolio value with an equivalent value of a put. Say for example, you are holding an Infosys share of 1700. You can buy put option of 1700 strike price. Now this is known as at the money because the underlying market price and the put price is the same. Put strike price is the same. So when the put, if the stock goes down, say Infosys goes down to 1200, the buyer of this put option will make the difference, which is 1700 minus 1200, 500, minus whatever premium they paid. So say suppose they paid a premium of 100 rupees, so they'll make a profit of 400 rupees. Again, these are random numbers. They do not relate to actual examples. Just please do your own research before investing in them. While since this entire webinar revolves around portfolio hedging, we'll go into a portfolio hedging example and then dive into this, come back to this Infosys example. So this data is from yesterday, so it's a little dated because markets ran up today. But let's stick to this example with reference price from yesterday. So Nifty was at about 17. So Nifty is at about 17,500. Expiry is June 2022. The strike price is 17,500, which I'm taking an at the money strike price, and I'm choosing a put option, which is because since this the whole idea is to hedge. Now the premium for this put option is 450. You can go to the option chain and check. I think today it reached 600 or something, but essentially 450, 500 is what you're gonna pay. Now, when you buy this option, you're paying a insurance fee of 2.5% for the next 7 months, right? Till June 2022. Now, what is your portfolio upside? Your upside will be basically if the portfolio jumps up 10% between now and June, right? Your upside will be 7.5% because essentially you're paying 2.5% premium for this. Your if the portfolio goes down by 10%, then you will make 10% in the put. Sorry, you lose 10% in the portfolio. You will make 10 minus 2.5 since that's the premium you paid, 7.5% in the put. So overall, you will only lose 2.5%, right? So that way, this acts as a hedge where your downside is capped to 2.5%. If the market stays here only until June 2022 and hasn't moved anywhere, then you lose this 2.5% premium that you paid and you make nothing in your portfolio. Please understand that, as I mentioned earlier, this is options trade in terms of lots. So if you are to buy a minimum lot of say 50, then you are looking at around 8 and 9 lakh worth of portfolio. So if you have a mutual fund large cap portfolio, then of worth 9 lakhs, then you should do this trade with one lot. Again, this is not investment advice, so please don't take this example and use it to hedge. But the idea is to get you interested into options and how they work as a hedging tool rather than a speculative tool, which was the original intention. So coming back, yeah, your upside remains whatever you make. On the upside, you'll make whatever you make in your portfolio minus 2.5% that you premium you make for this. On the downside, again, you will not lose more than 2.5%. That's the premium you pay for this. So it all in all, it acts as a very good hedge where, if you don't mind that 2.5% in a very uncertain time, that 2.5% can become a very small price to pay for, your mental peace or your, because right, like between now and June, anything happens, your downside is covered. Like you'll still be at this price. Or so it becomes a very good tool in terms of uncertain times, like maybe an election, maybe a budget, or right now when the global markets are very choppy. So do remember this. Coming back to our original option Infosys example. So basically what we've done is we've assumed 1700 as the strike price, as the underlying is also at 1700, and we've bought the put option for 100 rupees. So, and assuming the lot size is 100, the pay in that premium that you pay in will be 10,000 rupees. So you start off with a negative 10,000 balance. But as the put option, as the Infosys stock goes down, you start making money at 1600. This chart is actually reversed because ideally the X graph should have been reversed, where you basically make money as the stock goes down. So you will make at 1600, you will make break even because you'll make 100 in the option and you paid premium 100. At 1500, you'll make 100 rupees profit, 100 into 100, which is 10,000. At 1400, you'll make 20,000. At 1300, you'll make 30,000. Ignore the x-axis, it should have been reversed. My mistake, I really apologize for this. That's about it. I'll stop sharing and I'll open the floor for question and answers, and I think it will be more fun if we do it in an interactive way. So please type in your questions and I'll try to answer all of them in the time that we have. So Dev Jyoti is asking where to check gain in open interest in options, give link. So if you've used our new mobile app, the Kotak Stock Trading app, if you go to the more menu and click on option chain, it will take you to the respective option chain of Nifty. You can again click on Nifty and choose any other option chain and you'll get the open interest in that. So that's a good way to check. Again, NSE website is again a best resource to check open interest and gain and loss in open interest. Tirupati Reddy is asking, is it risky to trade in options? Do you need a software to follow the trades? It is very, very risky to trade on options because it's a leveraged product. Please do your research. Do not blindly follow people. There's a lot of mis-selling that happens even from some of the largest, most popular names in the industry are massively because of the interest that options have peaked in recent times, right? Like the fact that I'm holding webinar is because there is a genuine lot of interest in options, right? So people latch onto that interest by sometimes mis-selling. So don't do that. It is very risky, and you should only get in. Uh, Always get in with a predefined stop loss. Always keep a stop loss. And always try to do your own research before blindly following any software or any person who might claim they are the best or the gurus or masters of this. Sachin Pujari is asking, should we always hedge our portfolio? Yes and no. The answer would be, I would tend to answer no, because see, portfolio hedging can be a tricky, like what I've explained today in this seminar is very, 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 very simple logic. There's a lot of complications around it, like volatility and a lot of intricacies as well. So it's more for the sophisticated investors. Hedging is always nice, but hedging is not everyone's cup of tea. So that would be my answer to whether you should always hedge your portfolio. Uh, Shweta is asking, how do we hedge the long-term shares using options? Is it required to buy shares at least one lot, which is around 7 lakhs INR? Yes, Shweta, you will have to trade in terms of the basic one lot. Hedging, I hope I answered that question in the last slide, where you can hedge using a June or a December 22 long-term option. So the volatility, which basically means the premium usually peaks around the most uncertain time and then again comes down. So if, say, suppose the elections are in May 2024, then you should hedge a few months before that. Again, you need to keep a track of this. But yeah, one lot is the minimum you can need to buy. So don't try to partially hedge. If you have a portfolio of which is say 2-3 lakhs, please don't get into options hedging. It is not for you. How Nisit Barvaya is asking, how do you decide which call or put to buy and what price? So I there is a metric called the delta. Delta is essentially telling you the probability of that particular strike being in the money or out of the money. Okay, and what it tells you is the unit, the change in the option price for a unit change in the underlying. So say suppose uh, your delta is 0.5, rather a future always has a delta of 1. That is because a unit change in underlying reflects in a unit change in the future. So options may, there is, you'll have to check this, that the delta of at the money is 0.5. So people prefer trading at the money because it also has a lot of liquidity. Whether to buy a call or a put is again a determinant of whether you want to hedge or you want to speculate against a price movement. Doing this in weekly is slightly risky because there's a concept called time value, which basically eats away your probability of making money, even if your call is right. What price you should do this at? Again, this is something that no one has really cracked, and it is a relative thing that people struggle to really put down. And you should figure out, basically you should have a mathematical calculation that, okay, if I buy at this price, I'll only make money above this price, and this is the maximum downside that I have. That is what you should look at, rather than figuring out what price you should buy something at. um, Anirban Mazumdar is saying why option buying is always giving loss. Well, the real and very simple answer is it's like buying insurance, right? Option buying is like buying insurance. You will, if you were to look at every opportunity that you paid insurance premium on, it will obviously result in a loss. Not that is not to say you should keep buying. What I'm trying to say is your expiry date that you are betting on is a very short term which works against you. So the opportunity for you to make money in this can be can be very limited, right? So that is why the option buying is more often than not will lead you to a loss. And honestly, if you are looking to make money out of underlying movements, your futures or your cash is a better way to make money than to use options. Uh, Name of people with option courses on YouTube. There's a lot of them actually. Tasty Trade, Thinkorswim. I'm not recommending the local people because of some conflict of interest, or I just don't want to get into controversy. But Thinkorswim and Tasty Trade have put up very nice course videos around how to go about looking at options and how to trade them, and that could be a good starting point for you. Uh, how to play intraday? I think intraday playing in options is more for the sophisticated traders. I can hold a webinar if there is enough interest at a later date, but probably not for this scope. Again, same for Ravi, who's asking about the butterfly method. It's a slightly more complicated scope for this webinar. Maybe we can do it at a later stage. But I'll just say it's a good trading strategy. It usually, basically, when to go for it depends on what the current market sentiment is, right? And it also determines whether you should go long butterfly or short butterfly. So there's multiple angles to it, which I will not, go into detail in this. Amit Solanki asking, can futures be hedged? Yes. So futures were actually created as a hedge, which over time, like every other instrument, becomes more of a speculative tool. But you can hedge futures just like you would hedge your equity portfolio by using options. The good part here is your futures and options have the same expiry date. So there is no mismatch around futures and options. Both can be cut or both can be let expire at the same time. So yes, you can hedge futures. The concept remains the same. Deepak is asking, does straddle or strangle help when market is not going sideways? Again, I'll skip this question. Probably not for the scope. But again, whether you go long or short determines it, Deepak, not really the market sentiment. As a market sentiment is a part of it, but there's another layer to it. So Rohan has asked a very interesting question. He's asking how much put option to buy for a 1 lakh portfolio, how to determine strike price. Say suppose you have, Rohan, you have a 1 lakh portfolio of Nifty. Since the lot size of Nifty is 50, that would take basically 9 lakh value. So I wouldn't do it. But say suppose if you had a portfolio of 10 lakhs, then I would suggest you do 1 lakh, one lot of Nifty, which would be 50 into 18,000, 9 lakhs worth of exposure. You determine the strike price, like I said, try to do at ATM. That is the best place to do any hedging at, because then the gain becomes in sync with your portfolio. So do it at, if you want to hedge at current price, then do it at that strike price. If you want to hedge it at against a few higher strike price, then do it that way. Nikita is asking for intraday option trading. We are working on a tool which will help give you more data points around intraday option trading, but not for this scope. Aditya is asking you, hedging is done far OTM. Not really, Aditya. People do think about hedging as far OTM for, having non-linear payouts, but that is not what I would advise. Your far out of the money options lose the most value most quickly. So even if that event goes in your favor, you will not end up making money. So I would advise against buying far OTM options as a hedging tool. Maqsood is asking a very interesting question. Do you recommend rolling down or rolling up the option strike price with price move? This comes down to person to person. There's no one good answer. It's the same as equity investing in some sense, because when you are basically buying or selling equity, you are, some people love to average out, right? Book profits. Say suppose you bought a share at 100 rupees, then some people might want to book some profit at 120, some profit at 140, some profit at 150. Same way you can think about rolling up or down the strike price. What I would suggest, what so I mean, not to brag, but the only reason I was successful for so long in options is because of discipline. So if you've entered into a trade with a certain stop loss and a certain book profit target in mind, as soon as you get it, just book the profit and get out. Don't wait for an exponential payoff, and don't wait for an a lot of advisors on Twitter will tell you just book double the, do a contra trade with double the size. That's called the Martingale's theorem, and Martingale's theorem only works with the assumption that you have unlimited capital. So don't 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 get into a trade without having a predetermined stop loss or book profit. Figure that out. Maybe you'll get it right, maybe you'll get it wrong, but learn from that instead of trying to tell yourself, maybe let me wait for some more time, let me wait for some small slightly higher loss, and then come back. Vijay is asking, does Kotak allow long-term options? So Kotak does allow long-term options up to 6 months away, Vijay. So you can use that. We currently do not allow options beyond 6 months, but if there is enough interest, then we can have a relook at it. Mukul is asking, what will be the minimum amount to invest? Again, since the one lot of Nifty is 50, I would suggest that it is basically, if you have a portfolio of 9 lakh, only then look at hedging using options. Otherwise, it's best to not do anything rather than have partial hedges for your portfolio. Yuvinder is asking how to set trailing stop loss on app. Yuvinder, we have a video on YouTube around it. It's also on the website. If you go into FAQs, just search for trailing stop loss Kotak Securities. It will give you a video and FAQs on how to set it. Prasoon is asking, what is open interest? Okay, very good question. My fault, actually, I didn't get into it before explaining. Open interest is basically when two people enter into a contract, that contract becomes one open interest. It's essentially the total number of contracts which are non-squared off. So why I'm saying non-squared off is essentially because, say I buy 5 and I sell 2, then the open interest remains 3, right? It's not 5 plus 2, 7, right? That is volume. So every contract that people net, basically the number of net contracts in the market is what the open interest is. Vijay is asking, can we get 100% margin based on collateral? No, cash is the only place where you get 100% margin. Everything else you have a haircut. Like liquid funds are the next best resource where you have only a 10% haircut. But apart from that, there's no collateral which gives you 100% margin. There's always a haircut. Jitendra is asking, how do you decide by one lot of Nifty is enough to hedge 9-10 lakh portfolio? See, Jitendra, it's basically one lot is 50. Your Nifty price at the moment is 17,500, 18, or just for this calculation, let's assume 18,000. So if you multiply 50 by 18,000, that becomes to 9 lakhs. That is how I got to the figure of portfolio of 9 to 10 lakhs. So Karthikeyan is asking if I'm buying Nifty now for midterm March 22 put option of which month. I would suggest you buy put option of March 22, so that since you're buying it now at around 17, 15, 500, getting into it what will be your max downside, and then that essentially, say suppose for March 22, just for example, you're paying 2% of 17,500, which is 350, right? And this is just an example, a random one at that. Then you know that your max downside, if you bought Nifty and bought that put option, would be 350 into whatever quantity you do it. Whereas the upside, you obviously can be whatever it is. So in that sense, it becomes a good hedged trade. Navneet is asking what is the time value of an option. Time value is essentially basically so option has two parts: intrinsic value and time value. Intrinsic value is whatever, if we assume that a contract expired today, then what would be the money that would be made by the buyer of the option. So say suppose today the Nifty is at 17,500 and I do the trade for strike price of 18,000. And if I buy a put for say 18,000, then my profit today, if everything expired today, was 500, right? So 18,000 minus 17,500, which is 500. So that is the intrinsic value. Everything above that is the time value. Time value is what deteriorates over time. So that is something why buyers rarely make money, and that is why I recommend that buying options should be only be used, or preferably not only, should be used only for hedging. Okay, there are a lot of questions and I'm really overwhelmed by the interest here. What I will say is one second. So you can email your questions to me at arup.chaudhary@kotak.com, and I'll try to answer them, because in view of time, I won't be able to answer the rest of the questions. There's at least 100 more questions here. And I think I've covered most of the basic ones, but if you still have any queries, please feel free to reach out to me at arup.chaudhary@kotak.com, and I'll try to come back to you maybe in a couple of days or as soon as I can. All right. Hope you had enjoyed this session. Do let me know if you had any feedback, good or bad. I'll try to improve on that. Thank you, everyone. And it was nice speaking to all of you. It was my pleasure.